fast without warning. And when it rains, it's pouring. I got dreams, big dreams. I wanna do big things, but I just can't seem to put it all together. I just wanna be seen. I'm jumping ship, I'ma dive in. Middle of the ocean, swimming till I find it. I see an island, out ahead, filled with things that I've wanted since.
Hey, what's up, Crystal, Sweet One, Denise, Sly Angel? What's up, everyone? I'll wait for more people to get here, but hey, Sly, I want to let you guys know what's happening. First things first, I am knee deep in Holly Bobo. I know I said I was going to discuss her a long time ago, but now I'm even more knee deep in. Thank you, Dill. Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. So now you got to order a candle or 2 or 3 or 4. But I will let you guys know, of the 4th of July candles, I got 1 left. I mean, yes, I can make more, but ones that are going out Monday, I made originally 7. I got 1 left. So whoever wants that last one, grab it, because then it's gone. And every candle that's featured for the week is only up for a week. But I am knee deep in Holly Bobo, in the Holly Bobo case. It is my new Making a Murderer. I have to tell you guys, I could use some help on the case. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with it. I am 100% convinced they have the wrong people in jail. I do not believe that Zach Adams is guilty at all whatsoever. I just don't. And I am going to be I'm going to try to get the court papers, all the file, all the paperwork. I am knee deep in this case. You guys have no idea. I've been working on it for all day, yesterday, today. Like, I took a break from the case to mow my lawn. I mean, that's how knee deep I am. I am absolutely convinced they got it wrong. I am absolutely convinced that the wrong people are in jail. And the only reason why it's being brought up again is because the main character, Zach Adams, just filed for a new trial 4 months ago. They went in front of the judge yesterday or Thursday or Friday, and now we're waiting on the judge's decision. So that's why it's all coming up again. So I don't want you guys to think like I just, picked a case out of a hat. But I'm going to get into that. I just want to tell you guys where I'm at lately, what's going on. If you follow that case, no matter what your feelings are on it, this is the place you want to be, because people in YouTube land can fight over Seth and Chris and Katie and tragedy pimps and all that bullshit. I'm not interested. I've been looking for a case to really sink my teeth into, and I found it. So that's where we're going to be concentrating for a while. And I'm just absolutely convinced that Zach is innocent. So, but before we get into that, I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. What's up, Debbie? I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys order your candles at energycandles.com. 50% off until tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day of 50% off, or buy one, get one. So you definitely want to get one. Sorry I wasn't on last night. I was making candles. And there's something else I was going to tell you. I forgot. Totally forgot. And I keep hearing these like cracks, and then I realized July 4th is around the corner. So it might be fireworks. We got Dayton's cousins coming for 2 weeks. That'll be fun. They're coming from Iowa. They're also twins. They're Dayton's age. And they've never left Davenport, Iowa. So it should be fun. Oh, do you somebody sweet one? Somebody else that I just spoke to said she was friends with the mom. I said, can you get me an interview? But there's a reason I want to talk about Tori's case too. But before we get there, I got to show you guys something. Totally unrelated to anything tonight, but I thought it was wild. Hold on. All right. Could you imagine if this was you? Oh. Hold on. Hang on. All right. Just imagine if this was you. I'm not sure why there's no sound.
At the Forest County Festival in Crandon. CBS 58's Frank Healy shows us what happened.
Well, Mike, Antigo firefighters tell me they didn't know exactly what to expect when they got the call for mutual aid about people who were stuck on a ride. But when they got there, they leapt into action.
We had about a 35 to 40-minute travel time. During that time, obviously, the anticipation is building.
This is the scene Antigo first responders arrived at.
Hopefully he's doing.
Could you fucking imagine being stuck upside down for 45 minutes? Oh my God. That is insane. Like the guys like here, not so bad, but the ones that are straight up and down, holy shit.
Okay. 8 people, 7 of them kids, caught on the Fireball ride.
Ride had malfunctioned, and we had people that were upside down.
Firefighter and EMT Erica Kostichka says the Antigo Fire Department was called to help because they have a truck with a platform on their aerial. Kostichka was the one who walked everyone down from that platform after they were removed from the ride.
A lot of them, you could tell their legs were shaking. They were sweating, and it was just a matter of letting them know, hey, this is no race to get down to the finish line. The hard part's over. They were very brave, though.
There was a mechanical failure with the ride where it became stuck up in the upright position. The ride was recently inspected by the state of Wisconsin here on site, and at this time, we don't have any other information.
Kostichka says she's thankful everyone went home safely.
I know. Could you imagine that? Hey, Bob, I would die. And I like roller coasters. I would fucking die. That's the greatest part about going upside down is you know that you're right side up within a few minutes. And so I was like, whoa, oh my God. So I just want to show you guys that. I just saw it before. But yeah, crazy. I was like, I couldn't even imagine. And now I was in Oregon. There was something else I was going to show you guys, and now I forgot. It was another case. Mm. I know, it seems like a lot of people are dying lately. But as long as it's not me. Hey, Johnny. It is worse than being stuck on an elevator, but at least you're outside. But I just could not even imagine being stuck upside down for hours. Hell no. And then the worst part is getting out because you're still upside down. I would be petrified. Absolutely petrified. All right, I can't find the other one. I can't find the other one. It was interesting too. Oh well. Oh well. I know, right? I still feel thinking about it too. All right. So let's get into the first case. Actually, you know what? Hold on. All right. Tori Stafford the case is from Canada. She was 8 years old. She was abducted, raped, and murdered by a Michael Rafferty and a Terry Lynn McClintock. Her body wasn't found for 3 months. She was found in a wooded area in rural Ontario. Yeah, it was Ontario. The subsequent investigation and search was huge in Canada. I don't really think we knew about it much here in the States. But how I found it was I came across a video. I was just cleaning the other night. It was late. And I was looking on my news feed. Like if I hear about Seth Rogers one more time, I'm going to scream. Or Tragedy Pimp or calling this one out. I was literally going to lose my mind. And I've watched like every 48 hours known to mankind. I watched everything on Netflix. I'm like running out of stuff to watch. So then I came across this video, which I'm going to play for you guys. Over 1 million views. Big YouTuber, influencer, great storyteller. 5 minutes before I went live tonight. Literally 5 minutes before I decided to go live. Someone who knows the family told me that girl is lying. I was like, what? That's my whole live. That's what I was going to talk about. I was going to play her live. Yeah, it seems that supposedly she's lying. But I don't know. I think she sounds legit. So I want to know what you guys think. It's about 30 minutes. But that's what made me find this case to begin with. Hold on. Whoop. Now, this case, they got it right. They absolutely got it right. Yes, Rodney Stafford is her father. But the one thing that, I mean, I'm talking about it kind of early, but the one thing that I want to bring to the forefront of this case, Terry Lynn is the mom, not Terry Lynn. I can't think of the mom's name all of a sudden. But the mom and Rodney would fight in a news conference. Everybody thought that the mom was involved. Everybody, the neighborhood, the neighbors, the media, everybody was convinced that the mom did this. After her and Rodney were fighting on camera at news conferences and stuff, they were absolutely convinced that the mom did this. The mom killed her own daughter. And it just goes to show, and this is what made me think of it, with all this fighting about Seth and Katie and Chris and Don Wells and Candace Wells, it really makes you think, and it makes you realize just because it looks like she might be guilty doesn't mean she is. Because Tori's mom had absolutely nothing to do with any of this. And yet she was beaten down over it. Media was convinced, public opinion was convinced that she had something to do with her daughter's death. Even to the point that the father, Rodney, started doubting it. And they were throwing jabs at each other right on the news. And he was kind of like blaming her without actually doing it. Now, they had already divorced, but imagine being so innocent that even you're doubting that your ex-wife did something. I mean, Tara McDonald, thank you. And that doesn't necessarily matter, sweet one, though. And I don't know if that's true or not. But regardless, that has nothing to do with what these sick fucks did to Tori. When they found Tori 3 months later, she was naked from the waist down. An 18-year-old Terry McClintock, okay, 18 years old, admitted to beating her over the head multiple times. She had 16 crack ribs, broken ribs, not crack ribs, broken ribs. Hold on. It was, pull up my little note. What? Yeah, okay. She was naked from the waist down. She was only wearing a Hannah Montana t-shirt and a pair of butterfly earrings that she borrowed from her mom. During an autopsy, it was determined that she had suffered a beating which caused lacerations to her liver, 16 broken ribs, and her eventual death was the result of repeated blows to the head with a claw hammer. That's insane. No, according to, I know there's a lot of rumors and speculation that the mom may have known Tori, or not Tori, the mom may have known her, but she swears it was completely random, that she just grabbed the first kid she could find. Now, mind you, this was 2009. Things were different then. Things were definitely different in 2009. Schools weren't on lockdown like they are. Like, everything changed over the years, but 2009, yeah, you could walk into a school, take out a kid. Wasn't that hard. Not that I ever did it, but you guys know what I mean. So, hold on. I got to find this video. I have so many Holly Bobo videos. Um, Sorry, I didn't have it ready. Here it is. Okay, it's 23 minutes long. The creator's name is Selena Spooky Boo. She's got 2.4 million subscribers. This video got 1.3 million views. The video was done a year ago. Sources close to the family say she's lying. I have no way to prove or disprove it. I don't have the court paperwork. She claims that she testified in court. The spokesperson for the family said it's not true. But I want you guys to, this is how I found about Tori's case. I think the video is really good. And it kind of gives a background as to what happened.
Okay. No edits. Just me. I have recorded this story a couple times for YouTube, but I've taken it down due to some comments and some backlash from people in my town. But I think I'm at the point now where I don't really care what people think or say anymore. And I think because of who I am on the internet, it is my due diligence to tell you guys this story and why internet safety is so important. This story has changed my entire life. It has changed who I am as a person. And I think about it every minute of every single day. I make choices differently because of what I have lived through and how deep down I'll always feel like I could have made a different choice. And that is about the murder of 8-year-old Victoria Stafford and the very small part that I had in that story. While I tell you this story, I will not be mentioning her murderers by name. It's not that I think that it gives them power, but it literally makes me feel sick. I do live with a lot of PTSD because of this story, and I'm really thankful to the support system that I have. When this all happened and Victoria was murdered, after I stood in court in the same room as a person who took her life, I made a choice to live life differently, to live life loudly and extra for her. But this story, from me to you, is how important it is to be safe on the internet. On my 17th birthday, I was at a house party, and I had downloaded an app called Zeus. It was attached to Facebook, and it was like Tinder, where it told you how far away somebody was from you. And I got a notification. This guy wanted to talk to me. From the picture, he was very handsome.
Now, let me add, I don't think she's lying. I just don't. She might be. I don't have the court documents, but I think her story sounds totally legit. And I think her emotions are in it. But this is how I found out about Tori's case. And I can't make it louder for some reason. I won't. I guess it's her because it won't get louder.
And he was super kind. He told me that he was staying at his friend's house while they built his house in this new part of town, and that he taught dance at the senior center. And at 17 years old, being this dorky, chubby, weird girl, I was so excited that this grown-up man wanted to talk to me. I didn't even think that it was weird at the time. So on this app for the next 2 days, we chatted back and forth, back and forth. But being somebody with like no confidence at all, I knew I was never going to meet him. And I decided to kind of chill the conversation after 3 days. On that third day, I got up to go to work. I'll never forget my dad coming into my room and saying, "Who's in the driveway?" I think it was like 6 a.m. And I looked out my bedroom window and the car was already going down the street. It was this Honda, and I had never seen it before. That day, when I got to work, that car was in the back of the parking lot. And when I went for lunch break, that man came into my work and asked my coworker for my phone number. When I came back from lunch and she said, "This handsome guy came in, he asked for your phone number," I never put two and two together that it was this man. That night at 2 a.m., sorry. That night at 2 a.m., I got a phone call. It was him. And I said, "How'd you get my phone number?" And he said, "Oh, I got it from the girl at work." And again, I wasn't scared. I was flattered that he had gone the extra mile to get my number, that maybe he had seen me in real life and I didn't need to be self-conscious because he actually knew what I looked like, because, I didn't look like my profile picture that much. He asked me to go tanning. And I said to him, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "I see you come out of Tan Factory all the time." I said, "It's 2 a.m. He said, "I know a place." We just talked. We stayed up all night talking, getting to know each other. In the morning, I woke up and I felt weird about it. And I decided again that I wanted it to chill. A couple days later, my dad told me that that same car was across the street. And I started putting two and two together that maybe it was him, but probably not. I would see it when I was at my work for school. I did a full co-op for Big Brothers Big Sisters. I would see this car everywhere. When I was at work, it was in the parking lot. I ended up telling him he made me uncomfortable. I started seeing a different person, and I got this call from him, and I guess he was watching because he said that I was gross for seeing this person and that this person was bad, but like I literally didn't know him, and at this point I was getting scared. So I told my parents. And I'm pretty sure my parents had contacted the police at that point. We still hadn't connected that the car was him, and I don't know how. One day I was out with my best friend Brienne. He had called and he had called and he had called, and she called him. She said, "I don't want you to call my friend ever again. Do not talk to her." But I was scared of making him mad. My friend Brienne and I went to Walmart, and we were in the shoe section. We were looking at shoes when we heard this woman on the other side of the aisle going, "No, I don't need your help, sir. Sir, I don't need your help." We looked through, and I saw him. And he turned his head and he looked at me and he goes, "Selena." My friend and I.
Now, for fair use, I got to stop it. But Nikki, let me explain to you why I do believe her. Because I think that he was looking for a child, and he saw a very overweight, chunky 17-year-old who works with children, that maybe he could convince her to get him a child. That's why I believe her. I just don't think she made up this whole story. I don't. I could be wrong. I just don't think she made up this whole story.
I book it. We're 17. We're terrified. We run out to my car. That car that had been on my street, that weirdly painted Honda Civic, was parked against my driver door. I remember feeling so sick and so scared. I flew through my passenger side seat. I got in there and we took off. After that, he still talked to me, but I was afraid to be aggressive with him. So we would have little conversations. I would just try to keep things at a minimum. The day that I got the last text message from him, I was with my friend, and we were in the car. And I've always tried to figure out what the message was. But I know that he had asked me to help him with something, like moving something. Like, I'd never met him. He would ask all these weird things all the time to try and get me to come out. But that day, it was around 2:30 or 3 o'clock, I got the message from him. And I remember my friend taking my phone and calling him and being like, "Don't talk to her." And then I didn't hear anything. And then later that day, the whole downtown was full of people throwing missing posters at the cars that drove by. And I remember taking these missing posters and taping them to the windows of my car and then going to work. And because I worked for Big Brothers Big Sisters at the time, I had 4 little sisters that were in grade 3 and 4. And I remember feeling so scared that it could have been any of them, and going to Staples and printing off 50 posters and walking from light pole to light pole in my town and taping these posters. And in this moment, I didn't know. The police told me later on that he texted me again at 11:30 p.m., but that I didn't respond. At 3:30 that day, him and his accomplice parked at the top parking lot beside my high school, and his accomplice, a woman, went into that school, took Victoria by the hand, walked her up the road, got in the car, stopped at a Home Depot for garbage bags and a hammer. Drove away, did horrible things, and then took her life. My town was the kind of town where you didn't really lock your door. And now the whole town was trying everything they could to find her. Because these 2 people came from different places and changed everything for everyone. I remember being at my friend's house and the police showing up because they were checking people's sheds. They'd taken an old factory in town and it was full of the FBI because everyone was just trying to find her, and there were so many different stories and so many ins and outs, and I came home one day from work and my mom was yelling at me from the back family room, "Selena, Victoria is dead and they know who killed her."
Thank you, Allie. How are you doing? It's more like how you doing. I love you. Thank you.
And I walked to the back room and I looked at the TV. And it was his profile picture from Zeusk. I just remember falling down. I remember falling down. And then I remember getting up and saying to my mom, "That's him." And she knew who him was. And I remember running outside, and we had these shrubs at the side of our house. with spaces between them because I just needed to throw up and I just couldn't be in a place with walls. And I lay between those bushes and I threw up. And it felt like a minute. My mom, I called the police. And they showed up while I was still laying between the bushes. And they took me in and I talked to them, it honestly felt like 10 hours. And I remember sitting on my hands because I couldn't stop moving. And I remember them going like purple. When they told me later on that he had texted me on these dates. But that wasn't the worst part. I think the worst part in the moment was they had interviewed everybody at our high school, like everybody at our high school. But I wasn't there because I had full co-op. They're like, why weren't you there? Why didn't you come to questioning? Like I was trying to hide something. But I was at this full co-op and I felt so sick and I never would have thought I had something to do with it. I'm like, they don't even need to question me. I'm so far away from this. And out of nowhere, this 17-year-old from the suburbs was sitting in this room being questioned about a murder for a beautiful little girl. And everything changed that day. And the police kept showing up at our house and calling and knocking on our door. And they always had these little tidbits, which made the story scarier and scarier. Like that he had this piece of cardboard in his car with my name and all these things written about me. Or always asked me what these text messages were about, and I literally didn't know. But they knew that he had been like stalking me. To this day, I can't answer a knocked on door. I hear knocking and I shut down. And I have to have Christmas carols as phone ringers because I can't hear a phone ring. But it's not even my story. And the hardest part for me, and the hardest part that will always be, is the fact that like an hour to a half an hour before they made that decision, he had messaged me.
Yeah, but Tori was taken from school. Maybe that's what she meant, that Tori was taken from school? Because she was.
And no matter what anyone has said to me, no matter what anyone has said, I would give everything to go back to that moment and go. Because I was bigger. I was stronger. Maybe that wouldn't have even happened to me. Maybe it just would have reset the actions in time that happened. And people say so many different things about it. No, it was going to happen, how it was going to happen, or what if it was you? Well, yeah. She was 8, and her family loved her so much. And the whole town loved her so much. After this happened, I decided I want to be a cop. And I went to police foundations, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I had a breakdown, and I had to come home. And that's when I met Adam. And he really picked up all the pieces and he came with me to stand on trial. But before the trial, I knew it was coming up. And the anniversary of her death was coming up. And I had to do something. Like, I couldn't just not do something. Because I just felt like there's nothing you can do that can change what happened. But I went to the store and I bought 500 purple balloons full of helium. And I made 500 purple butterflies. Because that was Tori's thing, purple butterflies. And I decorated the town. And I remember standing at her school when the sun was coming up. And there were all the butterflies and all the balloons. And I thought I would feel some kind of peace. And I didn't. But, it meant a lot to our family. And I'll never forget standing trial, and I was so mad at the trial. I was so mad because they were just, it was just verifying questions. Did you meet him? Did you this? They didn't ask the important questions. Like I had told the police when I was at Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and I had these little sisters, he would drive by, and I honestly feel like at that point that I was targeted. Like maybe I was targeted. Like he knew I worked for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Information I had told him. Like I really felt like this was a bigger story than what it was. And they didn't even ask me those questions, and I was so mad. And I remember standing in this back room, and again, the only time I ever saw this man, was in that Walmart face to face. And I came out and I went in that box and I looked at him. He didn't even look. And I answered their questions and I couldn't even barely hear the questions because my heart was pounding so loudly in my ears. When I left, her mom was waiting outside for me. And she gave me a really big hug and I lost it. I was a 17-year-old who never would have thought that this could possibly be a part of my life. I was just having fun on the internet, talking to strangers. And then I was a part of something so big. Victoria was an 8-year-old, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Halloween-loving 8-year-old. And she had such a life to live. And when this all happened, I decided that I would live life extra for her. And I have a big butterfly tattoo here. It was like the first big tattoo I got. It was a couple months before the trial. Because I didn't know her, but I felt like I knew her. I remember when I was 20, I was really caught up in everything that happened and just feeling so guilty about things. And that I was here and she wasn't. And I had a dream. There's this arcade in Niagara Falls and I was there and she was in the dream and she came and we played all these arcade games and at the end, like, I didn't want to bring it up.
When I heard that, I was like, oh my God, I'm meant to hear this. I know the arcade she's talking about. I was there. So as soon as she said it, I remember walking around that arcade. I was like, holy shit, I was at that arcade. I know exactly what she means.
The whole dream. She was sitting at a table with me and she just said, I don't know what happened to me. She's like, you can't live like that anymore. And I got up that morning and I got ready to work at my factory job. And I went out the front. It was like 6:30 in the morning. And one of those butterflies that I had made was trapped in a bush in my garden. And I saw it when I was leaving. And I felt like it was validation from her. I was able to live life better after that. But every time I tell this story, people think that I'm telling it for the wrong reasons, which just blows my mind. I just don't want someone to make the same mistake that I did. You go on the internet and you think it's fun and you meet people, and maybe sometimes it's okay, but sometimes it's really not okay. I'm a grown-up now. I'm a full grown-up, and I will live with the choices of my actions for the rest of my life. I see the world in a different way. My heart always goes out to Victoria's family and to everyone involved, because the list was long. But the truth is that two people came from different places and they ruined this town. Something can come out of nothing really quickly. Stay safe out there, guys. Okay.
There is no way I believe she's lying. I think she absolutely is telling the truth. Sweet one, is she telling the truth? See, Tatum, I disagree with that. I think she tells the story from inside. Sweet one, yes, she's telling the truth. Someone else said she was lying. Oh, here's her channel. Like I said, her name is Selena Spooky Boo. She's got almost 3 million subs. Here's her channel. Hey, Kaz. Is it sleepwalking YouTube? I don't think so. I believe her too. Hold on. Uh, Hold on. Um, all right. You want to know how Canada does things? Hey, East Coast. You want to know how Canada does interrogations? Oh, she does sleepwalk? I didn't know that. My bad. So I'm going to play my favorite person in the whole wide world. And here's Michael Rafferty's interrogation. I do have to put a warning on this. The cop says okay so many times that you want to pull your hair out. But it's a good interrogation. It's funny in a lot of ways too. Now, when he was arrested, when Michael Rafferty was arrested, they had no body yet. They only knew what they knew from his 18-year-old accomplice's testimony. But for those of you that like interrogations, this is a good interrogation. That's exactly what I said, Frenchie. That's why when someone told me she was lying, I didn't believe it. I'm like, I don't believe she's lying. Because it all makes sense of why he would have stalked her.
At exactly 3:25 p.m. on April 8th of 2009, the dismissal bell rang at Oliver Stevens School in Woodstock, Ontario, and hundreds of grade schoolers were seen leaving the premises. Yet one 8-year-old was
Let me just tell you, I always thought JCS used, that was his real voice. No, that's an AI voice because I found it.
captured on surveillance leaving 2 minutes later than the rest, as she had to run back inside to get her mother's butterfly earrings that were left on her desk. Her name
Doesn't she kind of look like Summer Wells? At least in that picture, she reminds me of Summer Wells.
was Tori Stafford, and on that Wednesday afternoon, she never returned home. She was reported missing by her grandmother at exactly 6:04 p.m., and a missing persons investigation was launched immediately. Roughly 7 hours later, surveillance footage from a local high school was discovered, capturing what police say was the missing child, walking side by side an unidentified woman. Tori did not appear to be struggling in the video, and the woman was described as between 19 to 25 years of age, white, 5'2", and about 125 pounds with a black ponytail. The local police made a public appeal for the woman in the video to come forward, and Tori's grandparents offered a $10,000 reward for her return. A Facebook group dedicated to finding her gained over 20,000 followers in under 24 hours. On April 12th, 4 days after her disappearance, hundreds gather in Woodstock at 8 p.m. to hold a vigil for Tori, and her mother makes a tearful televised appeal for the return of her missing daughter. Over the following week, Tori's parents are interviewed by investigators, and each of them pass a polygraph test. Police call off ground searches 6 days after the child's disappearance after finding no clues nor leads. The day after, America's Most Wanted features Tori's case as its top story. On April 17th, the Ontario Provincial Police take the lead in the investigation, and the ground searches recommence. The case was then officially classed as an abduction, not just a missing person. They step up a media campaign by releasing a composite sketch of the woman in the video, and then circulate the image on social media and local news outlets.
And mind you, a lot of people believed it was the mom, like hands down.
On May 19th, police attain information that the woman is 18-year-old Terry Lynn McClintock, who is already in custody for breaching a probation order for a previous drug violation. She was transferred to the Ontario Police Headquarters and interviewed at roughly 5:30 p.m. by Detective Sergeant Jim Smith. She initially denied being the woman in the video and claimed to know nothing about the missing girl, but roughly 45 minutes into the interrogation, she breaks.
I think it goes right back to what you've said a few times. You didn't want to see it. Okay, but that doesn't change the fact that you saw it. Okay, and that's what you need to be truthful about. And I know it's hard to talk about. I know it's even harder to talk about than the sex part of it. Okay, but you saw it. Okay, you know you saw it, and we need to talk about that.
When I seen Mike with Tori on his lap, like I turned my head because I didn't want to see it. I could hear her calling my name.
So tell me what happened.
She describes in disturbing detail the abduction and killing of Tori Stafford, stating that she lured the girl into a secluded parking space with the promise of showing her a puppy. She was then forced into the back seat of a vehicle that immediately drove away. In the driver's seat was...
And just so you know, for some reason, she then changed her story that she's the one that killed her, that she hit her over the head 4 times with a hammer. I don't know why she changed her story, but she changed her story because she said that Michael didn't do it. She did it.
28-year-old Michael Rafferty, who then drove to a secluded area about 100 miles north of Woodstock. He then proceeded to sexually assault and then murder the 8-year-old, with the fatal injuries being 4 strikes to the head with a claw hammer. McClintock drew a rough sketch of the area where Tori was killed, which eventually led police to discover the girl's remains. She was found with lacerations to her liver and 16 broken ribs, but her eventual cause of death correlated with Terry's testimony, as was confirmed to be the result of repeated blows to the head with a blunt object. At 7:55 p.m. that evening, Michael Rafferty is arrested and informed that he is being charged with kidnapping and first-degree murder. He is read his rights and then brought to the police headquarters for immediate interrogation.
You got it mixed up, and there's a plain donut there for you. I had a cereal bar, but if you get hungry or anything else, just let me know.
American cops would never say, "There's a plain donut for you," ever.
Okay. Do you have any?
Eaten since noon.
You haven't eaten since noon? Okay. Are you hungry now? I can get you a full meal if you want.
Yes, okay.
You bacon and eggs, or do you want something
I think
else?
I'm too sick to talk.
Okay.
This is ridiculous.
That's okay. You can listen. And if you have any questions as we go along, there's no issues there at all. Okay.
Okay.
I got a few things I'll talk to you about. As I told you, my name is Chris. My last name is Lone. I understand your name is Michael. Now, do you go by Mike or Michael? What's your preference?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I'll probably call you Mike. So unless that really offends you, just leave it with me. I'm going to go over a few things here today. Okay, Mike, like I say, don't be shy. You'll find I'm pretty relaxed, pretty laid back, because I've dealt with these types of issues before.
The Ontario Provincial Police have a highly trained behavioral sciences unit, and their subdivision of forensic psychiatry is recognized as one of the best in the world. At first, you will see the familiar strategy of rapport development. The investigator will retain a friendly and almost nonchalant disposition throughout the opening phase of the interrogation.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Tatum. Like, they would never do that in America. But the cop's good. He just says okay way too many times.
The perception of solidarity and respect will make the suspect more likely to cooperate and take things into consideration, while the detective's easygoing disposition will also downplay the severity of the crime, thus making the gravity of admission far less intimidating.
Anytime that you have a question, all right, don't be shy. Now, I have no issues getting you any food there. So if there's something that you want, okay, I'll get you some food. There's no problems. Now, like I say, I get that for you in about 5 minutes. So, but my job is, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm from what's called the behavioral sciences section, and we're talking about the missing person when Tori Stafford went missing. I know you were following a little bit in the media, and you'd follow some little bits and pieces that there was behavioral sciences people involved, right? And sometimes they were criminal profilers. There's been other members in there as well. Threat assessment, and that's what one of my roles is as well. In threat assessment, what my job is to determine the risk. Okay, what's the risk of a certain situation? The situation that we're talking about, you're going to find here that there's nothing you're going to tell me to surprise me. Okay, for two reasons. One, I've heard a lot of this stuff before. The second reason is I'm fortunate enough to know what all the case facts are. Okay, so what I have to do is assess what I perceive is a threat. So are you going to go out and kill more people after this situation is done? Okay, that's what my job is, to assess threat level. All right, I already know you're responsible for one death. Okay, so that's what my job is to determine what's happened here. All right.
Staff Sergeant Chris.
What pissed me off about watching this, you murdered and raped an 8-year-old little girl who didn't have a chance to fight back. You literally raped an 8-year-old girl, and you want to cry now like a little bitch? I got big problems with that.
Chris Loam had been a police officer for over 21 years and was a member of the Behavioral Sciences Unit for the last 17. At the time this interrogation took place, he was the head of the analysis section. This meant he was in charge of criminal profiling, threat assessment, and forensic psychiatry. He indicates that his only purpose is to assess the suspect's threat level, yet this variety of threat assessment is only applied to less severe infractions. With relation to rape and murder, the serious nature of the crime means that the threat level is already assessed long before any form of psychoanalysis takes place. In reality, the investigator's primary purpose is to gain an understanding of the suspect's character and then use this knowledge to try and influence both his reasoning and decision-making.
before we go through all that though, like people just don't wake up one day and decide this is going to happen. And I know that. All right. So there's a lot of ideas that go in people's heads at the time. And if I go through, and I go through your history and your background, there's not a whole hell of a lot you've been involved in life, is there? Right? You're completely under the radar. Anyway, so I got to go through a few things with you here. All right. Obviously, you're upset by what's going on. You're here for a reason. And right back at the beginning, the investigators and the case manager, the officer in charge, said that I'm going to follow the evidence and go where the evidence leads me. Okay? And now you're here because the evidence has led the investigators to you. All right? And then I get involved after that. There's been people that I work with in behavioral sciences that have been here from the outset of the investigation. But really, at this point in time, I mean, when I go in and look at your history, there's very little on there. Like I say, you've flown under the radar. You haven't had any major problems with the police. Okay, but now all of a sudden you're involved in this situation, and it's a serious situation, and it's a scary situation. I'm sure you're quite upset and quite concerned about what's going on here. All right. Now the last one I was involved with like this, I don't know if you're aware of it, was a girl named Holly Jones in Toronto. She went missing, and the guy that had abducted her, his name was Michael Briere. And what he was doing is he was watching on his computer for hours and hours and hours. He was looking at child porn to the point that he decides, I want to go try this. And he goes and he grabs Holly and he does some things to her. And then he realizes, what am I going to do? Okay. And he panics. He doesn't know what to do because she's a witness now. And he says, if I just let her go, she's going to tell on me. So he decides that he's not going to let her go. All right. And all that was from something as simple as watching child pornography for hours on end. These things happen, okay? And we can't say it happened close to home. Toronto's not that far from you, okay? These things happen all the time, all right? So what I need to do is sit with you. I already know how. I know the who's, right? Why? I mean, why is up to you, but I can actually probably fill in that blank for you, but that's not what my role here is. If I'm going to assess risk here and see, number one, do you even feel bad about what you've done? That's the first thing I look for. And number two, do I think, okay, he doesn't feel bad, so in turn he's probably going to do this again because he really doesn't care about it the first time it's happened. Okay, I'm not at all upset with you. I'm not mad at you. I don't mind sitting here talking with you. You'll know if I don't want to talk to you because I'll just simply leave, right? From reading about you, this to me seems like it's out of character. Now I could be wrong, right? You may have been planning this for a long period of time, and you may have thoroughly enjoyed this. And if I'm wrong, then you tell me that, all right? But I also know that we all make mistakes, okay? And that's why pencils have erasers, okay? Because we all make mistakes. It's that simple. Spending time with you here, and if I'm wrong, you tell me. But it looks like if you could turn back time, maybe there's a few decisions in life you'd made a little bit different, all right? If I could turn back time for you, Mike, I would. But it's not that simple, okay? So now you and I have to sit here and face what's happened, okay? I can sit and tell you what happened. I can take you through the day of her disappearance, okay? I mean, I've seen the video, all right? And I know that you didn't do this alone. And but at the end of the day, we got to deal with this situation, okay? Because it's a young girl that we got to talk about. And if you and I don't sit and talk about your side, then people will only think the worst. Right? It's human nature, right? You've done it and I've done it. We always think the worst until we know the facts, okay? So that's what you and I need to sit here and work and discuss and work through. Again, if I'm wrong, you tell me, okay? But I really believe if you could turn back time, you would deal with this a little bit different, okay? And there may have been a rush. It may have been exciting for a period of time, but then reality sets in. You have to sit and live with the fact of what's happened here, okay? And that's what we're doing here. We have to sit and deal with what's happened. Really, at this point, what you have left is your word and your credibility. And people always think the worst, okay, until they know the truth. You do it and I do it. It's human nature. So we're all going to think the worst until we know why this has happened in your mind. And again, if it's something where you're like Michael Briere, where you looked at a lot of child porn and then decided you were going to try it, then that's fine. If it wasn't your idea, then that's fine too. But we can't change what the case facts are. All right? You know deep down that this is your chance to get it off your chest. You're not sitting there the rest of your life saying, I guess I should have said something. All right, I guess I should have got it off my chest and said my side, because this is your last chance to do it. The fact that you're here, and the fact that they've already they know where the victim is, okay, and they know your steps. This is it. You have to take the steps now to live the rest of your life, okay? This is what you have to do. You and I need to talk about this, okay?
It's always interesting to examine a suspect's demeanor while being interrogated, especially compared to how they most likely were while committing their violation. The suspect here is a quivering mess, acting like a helpless victim, wallowing in his own self-pity while vying for sympathy. Essentially the opposite of how he was while attacking Tori Stafford. It's ironic that the powerless and vulnerable complexion he is trying to portray here is exactly what his victim would have felt at the time she was attacked. The sympathy he is trying to garner for himself is clearly what he lacked for the 8-year-old child he raped and murdered.
So I've got to determine, as part of my job, when all is said and done here, do I think Mike's done? This is it. He's made his mistake. He realizes how wrong the mistake that he made, and he's willing to look past it? Or do I have to sit here and say, all right, my report's going to say very simple, I think this guy's going to reoffend. And that's what our job is. We deal with these types of situations and the reasons why people do this stuff, okay? Like I say, this may have been a thing that you just snapped and did something. That stuff happens. Or it may have been something you planned for many months and got some enjoyment out of the plan.
I didn't do anything.
Well, that's not entirely true either.
That is entirely true. I didn't do anything.
No, you can try and cement yourself into that, okay? But at the same time, you're not doing yourself any good by not being truthful here, okay?
The investigator wants to come across as empathetic and understanding, yet still needs to keep the suspect's confidence low. He watches for denials and stops them immediately. Letting the suspect deny his guilt will only increase his morale, thus increase his psychological endurance and constancy for self-preservation. This needs to be stripped away as much as possible, as early as possible.
Because by not being truthful, all you have left is your credibility, Mike. That's all you have left, okay? You're not the only person who's been arrested and charged, okay? And there's no surprises left anymore, okay? It's not even a surprise. It's why this happened.
I'm also not the only innocent person who's ever been arrested and charged.
Well, and that's true. There's been people that have been arrested for things where there's no evidence, but unfortunately in this case, there's lots of evidence to determine your role in this crime, okay? The girl who's on the video who walks away with Tori has been identified. And she's been identified as her and Tori being in your car. And the three of you and her and Tori, go to the Guelph area, go to the Home Depot, okay? And the grabbing of Tori, there was a planned event that you were going to grab her. You're going to grab a girl. But this other person was going to do it. And the other person got the girl, put her in your car, all right? And then there's other steps that are taken from there. Okay, there's things that happen at Home Depot. There's things that happen outside of Guelph. And there's things that happen to Tori, all right, before she's gone. And you're involved in that. And you can't mask that. You can't change it, okay?
No.
Because what's happened has happened. I can't turn back the hands of time, and neither can you, okay? There's nothing I can do to turn back the hands of time and say, I wish Mike would have reacted to this situation a little bit differently, okay? There's no doubt in my mind, okay? There's no doubt in my mind that you're involved in the abduction, okay, of Tori. No doubt in my mind at all. I followed the evidence. I've read the file, okay? There's no doubt in my mind. We're past that, okay? And the only concern or the issue that I have is why you did this. What caused you to do this? Was it something you, like you say, is this something you've done before and you've been involved in the death of other people and you enjoyed this? Am I sitting across the desk from Paul Bernardo here? Or am I sitting across from someone who's made a mistake? Okay? And that's going to be the question that's asked of you. All right? I'll get you a bucket there just a second. If you got to get sick, pull your boots there. Okay? I've seen it before. You're not going to offend me or bother me. So if you got to be sick, Mike, go right ahead. Okay? I'll get you some paper towels.
And by the way, for those of you guys that are new that don't know, JCS is my girl crush. There are times I'll post something on Facebook and he will acknowledge it or say something. He is my absolute girl crush. I don't know why he stopped making videos. Somebody told me that he got demonetized and it just wasn't worth it anymore. But he was like #1 on Patreon for a long, like he had more Patreons than anybody. It was insane watching him grow. So he really is my girl crush. I'm going to ask him I should ask him on Facebook why he stopped making videos, but he did. He stopped.
If you feel like you're going to be sick, just grab the, I'll have the bucket there handy for you, okay? Just leave it right there. You and I need to have a discussion. This isn't a parking ticket, okay? This is reality, okay? And people are, I've already told you, you know this. People assume the worst until they know the truth, okay? And people are going to assume the worst of you unless you and I sit here and clarify it. Okay, something's pushed you to do this. Okay, you can't just fly under the radar your entire life. Okay, Mike, it doesn't happen. It's not realistic. Okay? I'm not going to sit and tell you that it happens. Something brings this on. When you sit and talk to someone who had a troubled life like Michael Briere and just gets pushed into doing this and panics and thinks, what would it be like to take a kid and touch and rub a kid and then wish you could stop? Okay, and people can't, and that's the whole issue here. All right.
The detective seems to be almost rambling here, but this is a common strategy used to keep the suspect's mind racing. When Rafferty...
Crystal, for all I know, he could be a girl. That's an AI voice. He could be anybody. I have no idea who he is or she, but I just say girl crush.
is concentrating on what the detective is saying, it doesn't give him a chance to conjure up his own thoughts, making it very hard for him to either think up a lie or disassociate from the situation altogether. It's a methodical process of breaking a suspect down through mental exhaustion and slowly chipping away at his psychological stamina piece by piece.
We can't control every emotion, all right? We can't control some of our urges, some of our thoughts. None of us can. Okay, and I can't look you in the face and say I haven't made a mistake or made a bad decision in life, because I have. But the reality of it is, you and I have to accept that and move on, okay? Because I can walk out there and never see you again. Like, I can do that, right? My job here is done. The job here is done, as you'll find out tomorrow, as things start to be released.
Yeah, but sweet one, that wasn't totally his fault. He just left, but he came back to the school by the time she was getting out. Like, she didn't even know he had left. So it's really not his fault.
There is no more questions. There is no more long drawn out investigations. They're already sending people home to spend time with their families, okay? They're scaling back what's happened because it's been cleared and they know what's happened. The pieces of evidence have been gathered. So that's reality. I can't downplay that. But you and I need to walk out of here together, okay, with what happened here. You and I have to sit and say, this is what pushed Mike over the top. This is what pushed Mike to get involved in something like this. Because if I don't, then you sit here on your own and you have to take it. Okay, and is that necessarily fair? All right.
I have to sit here on my own anyways and take this.
To an extent, you do, yes. You have to sit there and decide, am I going to get rid of this and get this off my chest so people understand my side, or am I going to sit there curled up and keep it in for the rest of my life? All right. You need to be realistic about this. Okay. You have no battle plan to deal with this, right? It's happened. It's spun out of control. And you're thinking, okay, if I ever get caught for it, what am I going to do? Well, your plan isn't going to work. Okay. Because you're not built for this shit. This isn't what you're about. Okay. You're not some sick bastard, right? That sits there and gets enjoyment out of hurting people. All right. So now you have to live with this. Okay. And to live with it, one of the first ways, right, is like if someone's an alcoholic, what's the first thing they have to do? Acknowledge they got the issue. All right. You have an issue here in that there's overwhelming evidence, compelling evidence that indicates you're involved in what's happened to Tori. Okay. And I can't change that, and you can't change that at this stage. But you need to be honest, and you need to understand your credibility, Mike, is all you have left. All you have left from here on in is your credibility. And you sitting here saying nothing doesn't do you a bit of good, because no one's going to know. And then all of a sudden, 10 years from now or 5 years from now, you decide to say something. Who's going to listen? Nobody. Okay. This is your chance to say your piece. All right. Like I say, if you want, and you can see probably I'm trying not to, out of respect actually for you, but I can sit and get as graphic as I want. Okay. Because none of this stuff bothers me, because I've seen it hundreds of times. Okay. But if I sit and go over what's happened here with Tori, that you may not be real happy about it because it's going to cause you to relive all this crap. Okay. And maybe you want to, because I can tell you, I've sat with guys that wanted me to say it again so they could hear what they've accomplished. And I've had that where they want me to say it 2 and 3 times because they get a rush out of that. I don't think that's you. Okay. You're not some sick guy.
That's exactly what I said. I said, oh my God, if this investigator says, okay, one more time, I'm going to snap. Now, I totally get that in Canada, okay is a big thing, but I've never heard it so many times from a cop.
Okay. I'm not sitting across from Paul Bernardo. Okay. I know that. And I know people that have sat across from him. Okay. And I know 2 officers that have in different stages of their lives. Okay. And I know what he's all about. You're not that guy. All right. But at the same time, you can't just sit here and say, well, I hope this all goes away. Right. This isn't like a list your girlfriend gives you to say, here's a list of things to do. Can you go pick up a few things at the grocery store for me and get some gas? This isn't what that is. Okay. This is a lot more serious than a to-do list. We need to deal with reality. And the reality of it is your credibility is all you have left at this point. If you sit there and say nothing, everybody's going to assume the worst. Okay. And you may be painted with a picture that you're not real happy with. Okay. And I'm the only one that feels like sitting in here with you, right? There's no investigators lined up in here sitting with you. Why do you think that is? Right? Because they've been working at this for weeks. Okay. They're tired and they've been away from their families and none of them want to come in here and talk to you. Okay. I have no issue with it. I'm neutral. I don't have these issues. I haven't been away from my family. I don't mind talking to you. Like I've talked to people that have been involved in things far worse than what they're saying you did here. Far worse.
By the way, future reference, I learned this from my attorney. If you ever get arrested or get brought in for questioning, do not take a drink. They're using that for DNA. That's why they always offer you water, because you're not going to take your water with you. They're going to take your water, and then they have your DNA. So just keep that in mind if you ever get arrested. Don't touch anything. Don't ask for anything, assuming that you're innocent.
Okay. I can sit and list the things that I've been involved in. There are people who have done things that have been a threat to our national security, terrorism in Canada. Where I've dealt with people that have been involved in murdering more than 3 people. All right. I've been involved with people who have abducted and taken the life of children. I've been involved in it. I've dealt with many people who are sex offenders that habitually and repeatedly touch and molest children. I've dealt with that. That stuff doesn't bother me. Okay. But what's going on here is that you're just in there. You're just a big bundle of nerves and you don't know what to do. You don't know whether to sit here, shake, shit, puke. You don't know what to do. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, the evidence is the evidence. Okay. And the evidence clearly shows you're responsible for the abduction of Tori. Okay. And I also know that she's no longer with us. Okay. And you're responsible for that too. Okay. And there's a sexual component to this as well. So you might want to sit and get this off your chest and go through your side with me. All right. Because if I just walk away, at minimum, that's what people are going to think. At minimum. But you have some explaining to do. Okay. That's reality. I can't change that. Okay. If this is something that got out of control that you just planned on taking her and you thought you were going to put her back or just take her for a ride, that's fine. It got out of hand, then we need to talk about that. Okay. You need to sit and explain that and say why. Okay. If not, then I say people think the worst until they know. There is no other way. You don't have any other options. There's nothing else that you can do to change what's happened to her. We can't turn back time. However, we can explain how things got off the rails, whether it was something that happened slowly or just went right off the rails right from the beginning. Why do you think the OPP has a behavioral sciences section? This is all the stuff that we deal with. Okay. We deal with occurrences that are unusual. We deal with situations that aren't regular situations. And that's not what this is. This isn't a regular situation. This is a couple of people that made a series of decisions that hopefully they understand aren't quite right and that they feel bad about. I don't think that you're some kind of monster. If I did, you'll find me pretty candid. You'll find that I'll come right up and tell you, Mike. Okay. I don't think that. Okay. I think this got out of control. I think it got out of hand. Okay. Are you some kind of monster? Or did you make a mistake here? You made a mistake, right? This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back if you could. This is a mistake, right, Mike? You'd take it back if you could turn back the hands of time, Mike, would you do this a little bit different? Mike, talking to you. If you could turn back the hands of time, you're not some monster. You made a mistake, right? You'd take this back if you could. This is a mistake, Mike. You need to deal with this.
I am a monster.
I know
but
you're
I
not a
did
monster.
not do what you think I did.
I know you did. We're past that. Okay,
No.
we're past that, Mike. Okay,
I
know you're not a monster. If you did, if I thought you're a monster, I would tell you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't just walk out. I would spend some time with you. If I thought you're a monster, just because I want to see what makes you tick. You're not a monster. All right. This thing has consumed you. Look at you. Right. You can barely eat or drink. You haven't touched your donut. Right. Why is that? Because your guts are eating yourself up inside. Okay. You can't sit and say that you're innocent and did it. What's the first thing you did when you got in here? You just laid down and curled up, right? It's all over. You know it's over, okay? You know it's done, okay? You don't have to be an expert in body language. All you've done is lay around in the fetal position since you've been here. That's not how innocent people act. That's not how people that are falsely accused of something act. It's the last thing they do.
Possibly that it's freezing. I haven't eaten.
Let me just say, I'm not a big one on interrogations. Most of them bore me. But when I was doing some research on this case and I saw that they had a interview listed for it, and I just thought it was a pretty good interrogation.
Since noon, it couldn't be that this is all just a huge shock to me. No, it couldn't have been any of that at all.
It's probably all of that, but it's also the fact that you're involved in it. It's probably all of that, Mike. Okay, the fact that maybe you haven't eaten that much and maybe you are cold. There's no question. The first thing you said to me was you're cold and hungry, so that's why I grabbed you that stuff. Okay, and I'm willing to accept that. Maybe that is part of the issue. Okay, but there is a larger issue here. Okay, and it's the issue of the evidence and the issue that you're involved in this. Okay, and we can't change that.
On a personal note, I just think that he's such a narcissistic psychopath that he feels he doesn't need an attorney because he's not going to admit to anything. So if he just keeps denying it and it looks like he's innocent, then they'll just automatically believe he's innocent. He didn't even need an attorney. And Buka decided that laying in my closet was the right place to be. He's never done that. I don't know why he's in my closet. I guess it's going to rain.
I have no ill will, anger towards you. I have none. You don't make me mad. You don't upset me. Nothing like that. Okay. The only issue I have is I don't fully understand. I volunteered here to come here and shoot the shit with you because I've talked to people in worse situations than you. Okay. And like I say, you've been pretty respectful with me. You're not giving me a hard time. You're not being rude to me. So I'll sit with you because, but the reality of it is I can walk away and you're going to sit and deal with this on your own for the rest of your life. You're a smart guy. You're nobody's fool. You know the situation. You're in a tough spot. And again, this is your opportunity to say your piece. But you got some pretty serious explaining to do here. Okay. In the big picture. Now, without me, if I just leave you here, you got some stuff that you need to explain.
What I think is wild, though, is this is a criminal. Like, he's a murderer. He's not even handcuffed. They gave him a blanket. What if he's got like a shank or something in his pants? I don't know. They would never do this in America.
I've acknowledged already what my thoughts are of you. Okay. I've told you that from the beginning, that this is out of character for you. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's why you don't want to talk. Because maybe you're thinking, you know what, Chris, you're wrong. Maybe I've done this before. Maybe I plan on doing it again. All right. I don't think that, but I mean, you could be sitting here playing me, right? How would I know? Okay. I can tell you that I don't think that's the case because I've sat across from a lot of people, again, that have been through stuff a lot worse than you. You made a mistake, man. Deal with it and we move on. I am concerned that you're just going to sit here and, oh, well, take a chance. Maybe I'll just leave it and it'll all work itself out. Well past that, Mike. This is not going to work itself out, okay? We're past that. You need to acknowledge what's caused you to do this. And I never said for a second that you went and took that kid from the school, because you didn't. But that kid was taken from that school, all right, by Terry and put in your car, okay? And you were there, and you were part of when the kid was driven to Guelph, okay, in the Home Depot. And And then from there, the kid, into the demise of the kid. This is the stuff we need to explain. Nobody can control your destiny now but you, okay? I can. I mean, I've already told you. I've already put my cards on the table. This is your chance, man. Do you not think you're going to feel better getting some of this off your chest as opposed to keeping it there forever? You know what I mean? I'll sit with you and do this. There's no issues with it at all. Like I say, I have no problem sitting with you, man. Why don't we just find a starting point and we'll do it? Because you're going to sit and stew forever. Sitting, oh, I should have said this or shouldn't I have said that, right? It's up to you. I mean, I've got situations where I wish I'd have told somebody something that I didn't, and I regretted it my whole life, okay? And it's situations with family members where you should have said your piece or you should have kept your mouth shut. But we all have those experiences. But this is your chance to say your piece, all right? And I think you and I should take that chance. I think you and I should just sit and have that discussion. How is it going to get worse, right? It can't. And obviously, to an extent, someone's put you in this position, right? And we need to deal with that.
You want me to tell you things I didn't do so I can get locked up for the rest of my life for this?
No, that's not. I don't want you to tell me things you did not do. No, I'm going to ask you a question. What's your biggest fear or your biggest concern now that you've been charged with this? What's your biggest concern here?
Losing my life.
Okay. All right.
I want to know what
Notice he can't even look at him.
Okay. She acknowledges that she grabbed Tori and brought her to your car. That it was your wishes. That you sent her there with certain things that you were looking for in a victim. And she took her. And you guys drove on the highway and did the Home Depot thing, which I talked about. Left the Home Depot. Went to a secluded area. You had sexual relations with Tori. And Tori was killed. This is your time, man. This is as good as it gets, unfortunately. All right? This is it. And I mean, I can get into more detail if you want, but in a nutshell, that's a polite way of saying what the allegations are. But if there's stuff, if there's other people here. What's happening, man?
What's this process? What happens?
What happens next? After you and I are done talking, you go back to your cells. Tomorrow morning, you'll have what's called you'll be brought into court, and the charges will be read to you again. And there'll be a discussion if you get out of custody for bail, and then they may schedule a bail hearing to determine that. And then from there, it's a matter of where it goes from the courts. The investigation will go on for a little while yet. There's a couple things that, as I told you, that need to be done. And then in the big picture, you're facing these charges.
Now, one thing JCS doesn't talk about, they also found a lot of child pee on his phone. And it wasn't just, oh, let me pick up this girl. Like, they found so much evidence that they really think he would have been the next, I can't think of the names, Barbie and Ken killers, he idolized him. So I don't know if JCS, I didn't watch this whole video. So I don't know if JCS puts that in the video or not, but yeah, he's one sick fuck.
The reality of it is we can just sit and deal with the issue here just as easy.
I'd rather deal with this issue in court.
Okay.
The suspect remains unyielding after 95 minutes of psychological pressure, so the investigators commence the next stage of the interrogation. They initiate the Mutt and Jeff technique.
That's Terry Lynn's story, Mike. That's Terry Lynn's story while she bawls her eyes out through 2 boxes of Kleenex. And I ask her 4 times, hey, you want to call a lawyer? She says, I don't need to call a lawyer. I feel so bad about what happened. I just want to tell you all about it. That's what you're up against.
Terry Lynn's a liar.
Well, you're the only person that can tell us that, buddy.
I just did.
You got to be careful, Mike, because some of the shit she said is backed by not just video but other evidence, but also some of the explanations that she gave as well are verified. That's a little more graphic than I said it, but yeah, there is some stuff that she says that is true. No question. I'm not going to say it's not. But,
How old are you, Mike? 28 years old? You want to tell us your side of the story? Get rid of your fucking security blanket and start being a man. Because it's not going to be her semen that we find on her body. When we look at the areas underneath the parts of the seat that you cut out, we're going to find her blood. Do you know how blood works? Do you know about red blood cells, white blood cells? White blood cells are thinner. They look like spit when they're separated from red blood cells. They're the ones that seep through into the foam. That's what we get the DNA from. Skin cells from her rubbing up and down against your seats in your car. Tori Stafford is all over your car. All over it. And Terry Lynn explains everything that she knows we're going to find. You're explaining nothing. So I don't give a fuck if you say one more word to tell you the truth.
All right, we're done then.
Well, I'm done with you anyway.
Okay.
This officer here is trying to understand what the hell you're going through. I don't care.
Who are you?
I'm the lead investigator here.
Okay.
Okay?
Terry Lynn's full of shit.
Well, that's going to be a funny thing for you to say in court, isn't it? Because how's the DNA going to be full of shit, Mike? Huh? How's the biologist from the Center for Forensic Sciences going to be full of shit? How's the pathologist that examines her body going to be full of shit? Explain that to me.
I'll be careful, Mike. That's a dangerous road to go up. If there's something you and I can clarify with what you said, then let's clarify it. But we can't just sit here with a blanket statement that she's full of shit, because there is some things that's truthful. And then by you saying that takes away your credibility. So we got to be very careful with that.
I'm done with him.
Yeah.
This officer's got his job to do, Mike. He's got a different job than I do. For my investigation, you keeping your mouth shut is the best thing can happen. So keep on keeping it shut.
Okay.
The theory behind good cop, bad cop is known as the fear, then relief response. It's believed that when the immediate shift from one emotion to the next is so extreme, a suspect can become disoriented, and their ability to think critically can be affected. This specific state of disorientation makes compliance more likely, as the rapid change of emotion can evoke the feeling of uncertainty, and a suspect's positive response to an oncoming request is a form of coping with this uncertainty. This is, of course, not a guaranteed system, and a suspect will not always respond in the desired manner.
Well, I know more than I told you anyway. It wasn't quite as eloquent as I would have put it, but anyways. At the same time, what he's saying is right. Like, I did watch what she was saying, and she was very emotional. There's no question. And she did go through Kleenex. There's no question of that. And she was upset. And there's stuff that she said that, I mean, was clearly known ahead of time by the investigators, and there's stuff that was said that by her saying it later proved out to be confirmed other ways. So don't, no, I can't say don't, you can do whatever the hell you want, but just be careful going up that road. Anyways, but like I said, I have no issues on that. That doesn't change my opinion, our discussion, to be quite honest. I mean, they got their opinions, and obviously they're getting sick of listening to me, so they come in and said their piece. But like I say, I've got no, I'm not pissed with you. So I'm not, but like I say, this is your chance. This is your chance to say your piece. And I'm sitting there willing to listen to it.
Well, he just told me not to say anything more, so.
That's up to you. You don't say anything to him.
That's what he said, though.
He doesn't want you to talk to him. That's fine. I'm still interested in listening to you. You want to talk about the part of the school where she's grabbed? We can discuss that and see what your thoughts are there.
I'm not saying anymore.
Why?
Because of the officer, because of what the lawyer said. Now it's everything. I just don't.
What do you think is going to happen next?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Someone runs in here and starts barking. You just want me to say whatever. You just want me to say things. So it's open and closed.
No.
So it's over and done with.
Thank you, Crystal. Much appreciated. I can't see who got it though.
That's it. This is how it is. Nothing more to talk about.
No, actually, because actually that's fair. That's a very fair statement, actually. But I got to tell you, in this case, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm compelled and I'm interested to listen to what you have to say. But does it open and shut this case? No.
I'm done.
Why?
I'm not talking anymore.
How come?
I've already told you why.
Just because of all the different angles and all that?
I just don't feel comfortable talking about it.
So you're prepared then to just leave it like this and you're going to ride it out from here, see where it goes?
Yep.
You think that's the best way to do it?
I don't know. I've never been in this chair before. I don't know.
Any questions of me?
No.
Need something to eat?
Yeah, but you don't care if I need something to eat.
Why would you say that?
Because you don't.
I wouldn't ask if I didn't care.
You're here for your job.
Nope. I could have walked out. I don't have to ask you because you got.
Dude, eat your last good meal now, because you will never have another meal for the rest of your life.
Right here, right? But the reality of it is, I know that you're going to go back and sit and sleep or do whatever for a while, and you'd be better to do it on a full stomach. That's all it is to it, man. But I don't have to ask you if you want food, but I am prepared to get you food.
So I can eat, and then you can say, "Oh, look, he had an appetite. This is how he must have been feeling. Oh, he drank his tea. This is how he must be feeling." Forget the fact he's just starving. And
you're reading too much into it, man. No, that's not what it is at all. I offer you something to eat because I thought if you're hungry, you can eat. I don't care if you.
This dude is like your typical epitome of a child molester, because he's such a wimp and a wuss that it's sad. Like, dude, toughen up a little. You're such a fucking pussy.
If you eat it or not, right? I mean, it's up to you. It doesn't matter to me if you eat or you don't eat.
And that doesn't go in anywhere in any of your reports.
What's that?
That I ate or not ate.
No, this is on the video. It doesn't matter if you eat or not. I don't have to write any report. My report doesn't say if you ate or not. My report says what we talked about.
This is a very intriguing moment of the interrogation, as the suspect's state of mind seems to be in two places at once. He is undoubtedly clinging on to hope, made evident by his outright refusal to admit involvement, yet he still has situational awareness. He knows deep down that his act isn't being bought, giving reason for his guilt in requesting food. He would have been starving at this moment, yet his primary concern was how he would be perceived while eating. He is caught between wanting to satisfy his hunger and trying to appear so guilt-ridden by the circumstances that he doesn't even care about his hunger.
No, like I say, it's your appetite at this point doesn't matter, really. I come in here, I sat to explain to you what the evidence was, had a discussion. Actually, I don't
I'd be like, yeah, I want a steak cooked extra rare with sauteed onions and mushrooms. I want garlic mashed potatoes. Like, I would come up with the craziest meal just because I know it's going to be the last good meal I'm going to eat for forever.
I don't think there's any animosity between us. So we had a discussion about what the case facts are, and that was it. So it doesn't matter to me if you eat or not, but it was a legitimate offer. If you want something, I'll arrange for you to get it. There's no issues that way. But you read too much into it, man. Do you want something to eat?
I need something to eat, yes.
All right. We'll get you something to eat. Look at me. Take it easy.
In reality, no food was coming. The suspect had it right when he stated that the investigator didn't care about his hunger, and he wasn't about to go out of his way to get a takeaway meal for a child killer. The Mutt and Jeff technique, although very well executed, was unsuccessful on this occasion.
Hey, Mike, I'm a pretty get down to the facts kind of guy. I'm sure you've realized that from our brief encounter earlier, right? This is not rocket science. I've got what Terry Lynn has told me this afternoon, and I've got you. This is your opportunity. Terry Lynn's sitting right here. Tell us she's a liar. You've had no problem at saying without her in the room.
Terry's a liar.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping.
I'm not even looking at her.
I don't need to look at her.
I don't think they would ever do this in American prisons. They wouldn't bring your co-defendant in so you to look at her and call her a liar. They just wouldn't do it. It's a great technique, but I don't think they would do that here. I mean, I've never been arrested for anything criminal, so I don't know, but that's a pretty wild it's a good way to play it.
You haven't been looking at it anyway.
I don't need to look at her anyway.
See, Mike, I know I was hurt when I walked in here, okay? And I'm not gonna pull any punches here, okay? I'm not gonna try and kiss your ass, all right?
Detective Smith's behavior in the following moments is not associated with any techniques nor strategies. He knows the suspect's inclination is virtually set and unlikely to be influenced any further from this point onward. The following onslaught doesn't have any tactical purposes related to the investigation. The detective has understandably become emotionally invested in the case and proceeds to give the prime suspect the psychological grilling he deserves.
I mean, let's face it, I'm a cop, all right? And the last 5 weeks, I've been trying to find out who killed an 8-year-old girl. Okay? And I know the guys from behavioral sciences, they got their thing. They're trying to understand why that's what they do.
You guys all work together.
Yeah, we do. They're good people. They know their job very well. And sure as hell, I'd like to know why. Right? I'd like to think that we don't have people walking around our communities who just because they're bored on an afternoon say, hey, why don't we grab that girl and rape and murder her? Okay. I'd like to think that we live in a community where people think a little bit more about what they're going to do than that. Do you think you're coming off as an innocent guy? Do you think you're looking like somebody who's been wrongfully accused here?
You're going to see it however you want to see it. My lawyer, or the lawyer, instructed me to just say...
Yeah, I know, Mike. I know what your lawyer instructed you to say. But that doesn't make you an innocent man. That makes you a man who's saying, holy fuck, what am I going to do now?
Nothing I do is going to change your opinion. So I might as well just follow the lawyer's advice.
Well, you're right there, Mike. Nothing you do is going to get you walking out of this police station tonight without being charged with murdering Tori Stafford. You're right. You know how much media coverage this has. You know what the newspapers are going to do with this and to your family tomorrow, okay? You think the cops are going to be talking to everybody you ever spoke to in your life? That's nothing compared to what the media is going to be doing. This is a huge story for them. This is the next Paul Bernardo. Whether you like it or not, a girl and a guy kidnapping an 8-year-old girl and murdering her. That's one of the most sensational things that have happened in this province since Bernardo and Carla. It's going to be a frenzy, and you and I both know that. You know what a psychopath is, Mike?
I've never met one.
I just met one tonight.
I just find it funny how you can go full sure on something when you don't know.
Well, Mike, when somebody tells me that they were present when a man killed an 8-year-old girl.
Somebody told you that.
Mm-hmm, she did.
Okay.
When that happens, okay, we don't say, oh, well, maybe after we go golfing for the week, we'll go and see Mike and see what he has to say. That's not the way it works.
No, so let's just pick him up and then say, yep, you did it. Because that's obviously got to be the right way to go about things.
Yeah. So the last thing I cover off with everybody I talk to in situations like this, Mike, is pretty straightforward, okay? Rodney Stafford and Tori McDonald have to be notified about this. Okay. First question out of their mouth is going to be, what? Did they say why they did it?
I'm sure one of those two will have the answer for you, why somebody would do it.
What are you getting at, Mike? What are you throwing out there for me, buddy?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're going to talk to them anyways.
You know what, Mike? If you're going to claim you have no involvement whatsoever, don't play games with me and throw out little hints and see what comes of it.
There's no game. There's no little hints.
There's nobody involved in this except for you and Terry Lynn.
We're done.
Is that what you said to Tori before you killed her? We're done?
Funny man.
Funny man. That's what you think this is funny
I
man?
think you're a funny man.
I think you're a cold-blooded killer. Because you and I haven't spent too much more time now than you forced Tori Stafford to spend in your car. You could have let her out anywhere along that route. You could have killed her without sexually assaulting her. And that's what I wanted to sit across from tonight. See what it's like to sit across from a guy who, when he abducts an 8-year-old girl, is so turned on by it that before he kills her, he has to have sex with her. So if you ask me why I'm sitting in this room, I'm sitting in this room for Tori. Making you squirm, putting you through some of the grief that you put her through. That's why I'm in here, Mike. And I'm having a good time. You are a sick puppy, Michael. Eight years old, Mike. 8 years old, buddy. All she wanted to do was go home and have a little party for her friends because her mom just redecorated her room for her. That's pure evil, bud. And that's exactly what the judge is going to see. That's what you are. No remorse, no empathy, no nothing. You're just hollow. The nice thing about the place you're going to be spending a good chunk of your life is they actually have glass cells. So you and Bernardo can make googly eyes at each other all day, whatever you guys do in there. So it's nice meeting you, Mikey. Enjoy the rest of your life. This is the kind of room you're going to be spending it in.
And it was all for this little girl right here. Not just Tori, but for every little child in Canada that doesn't deserve what happened to her.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. 31-year-old Michael Rafferty has been found guilty of murdering, kidnapping, and sexually assaulting 8-year-old Tori Stafford. It's been nearly 10 very long weeks of trial in London, which is where Laura Zilke has been covering this story since the very beginning.
In the courtroom, when the verdict was read out, there was a collective sigh of yes for each time one of those guilty verdicts was read out through friends and family. That came with the reading of each verdict. Guilty of first degree, guilty of abduction, and guilty of sexual assault. Lawyers from both sides of the story came out to speak with us as well. Their reaction, everyone appreciating that justice was done here, and every one of them also thanking the work that the jury had to do for having to sit through this case for, as you mentioned, Carolyn, almost 10 weeks.
It's been a long and difficult trial for everybody. The trial is finally over, so that's a good thing. But the verdict means that the jury has found that Michael Rafferty did kidnap, sexually assault, and
Which reminds me, do all Canadian lawyers have to look like that? Do they all have to wear that suit or that kind of tie? Is that like a Canadian thing with lawyers? Because I noticed that any Canadian case, all the lawyers look like that. They all wear this goofy outfit. And even she's wearing it. Is that like standard? That is standard. That's wild. Is that like to separate them from everywhere else?
murder Victoria Stafford, and our thoughts are with Victoria's family.
Is it a hard decision for you to take cases like this?
It's never easy, but honestly, I mean, somebody has to take them. I get asked that question more often than almost anything else. How can you do a case like this? How can you defend such a person? The reality of it is that everybody in our system deserves a strong, proper, and effective defense.
Even before going into the courtroom, there was really a sense of excitement. I think a lot of the family thought that because the verdict did come so quickly, just over a day of deliberations, they truly believed that this was going to be a guilty verdict. Then going into the courtroom, that simply continued. The relief that went over this, it was really almost unbelievable to hear the sighs that went through everyone in that courtroom. Carolyn.
Both Michael Rafferty and Terry Lynn McClintock were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years.
Yeah, I guess Canada doesn't have like actual life. They're got 25 to life, but they are eligible for parole in 25. An up thing was she went to a minimum security prison for a while. They ended up sending her back, and he went to a minimum security. Nobody knows why. So 25 years, not when you're 18. She was arrested at 18. 25, she's not even 40. Well, yeah, she's not 50, I'll say. Oh, because they're connected to England. Okay, gotcha. But 25 years is definitely not life when you're 20 years old. You're out younger than I am. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was crazy. And I found this case due to that girl that I was listening to that Nikki says is lying, but I don't believe she was. I think she sounded really legit. So, but since we're at 2 hours, I'm going to cut this now, but I want to let you guys know, I really mean it. I am going head deep into the Holly Bobo case. I am 100% convinced that those guys are innocent. 100% convinced they're innocent. They have the wrong men in jail. It's almost like making a murderer all over again. And the fact that the main, like, there's no evidence even linking these people to the case at all. None. Zero. Zilch. It's all because one criminal turned against another criminal and said they're guilty. That is the entire basis of putting people away for life, because they needed to close the case. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the case, who really know the case. And yes, Janessa, you talking about Holly Bobo? I am 100% convinced they're innocent. Now, a lot of people don't know. Do you know that Adams filed a that he wants a new trial based on Jason recanted his testimony now that he's out of jail? Some people didn't know that. But I'm convinced that Zach is innocent. I really am. He didn't even fit the profile. And I'm going head deep. I said in the beginning of this live, everyone on YouTube can go fight about Seth and Chris and talk about the same shit as everybody else. They could all talk about the same fucking crap as everybody else. We're going head deep in Holly Bobo. Yeah, let me show you. A lot of people didn't know that. Yeah, hold on. It just happened. The hearing just happened a few days ago. I think it was Thursday. Zach Adams. 1 day ago. Hold on. June 14th. So Friday, yesterday. Hold on.
Of killing nursing student Holly Bobo. The case is returning to the Tennessee courtroom where his highly publicized murder trial unfolded. With Bobo's parents sitting in the courtroom, a judge heard arguments today as part of an attempt by Zachary Adams to get a new trial in the kidnapping, rape, and killing of Bobo. The new petition filed by Adams' attorney says key witness Jason Autry is recanting his testimony that helped convict Adams. For this petition to be successful, Adams must prove that he is presenting new evidence.
Your Honor, that is our...
What a handsome judge. So is there anybody not familiar with this case? Because I'll give you a synopsis if you're not familiar with it. Nope, not the same coverage, not the same rumors. We're going our own direction. Just going in our own direction. People want to come, build it, they will come. Shut up. But is anyone not familiar with this case? It was a huge case in Tennessee. I've even thought about taking a ride down there and talking to some people, because I really believe they're innocent. And if you're not familiar with the case, I'll give you the synopsis when this is over.
Our request today is to not dismiss the case and to have an evidentiary hearing. That's our request today. Our request throughout is far simply stated. It's for the truth.
And the judge said he would rule later on whether to grant an evidentiary hearing in the post-conviction filing.
All right. You're not familiar with it? All right, hold on. Let me pull up all my notes. Well, you guys are going to save me on having to edit. Come on, notes. How come every time I pull up freaking Microsoft Word, if my computer freezes? Come on. Hello. Ah, I don't want that. Oops. Word. Here it is. Oh. See all my notes? I made all these notes that I was turning into a video, but since we're going to go over it, then don't have to make a video. All right, hold on. One thing, if you do know about this case, I want you to forget everything that you think you know, because what has been uncovered is honestly it'll turn even the slightest, I mean, even the most intense sleuth to think differently. So a little background on the case. In the morning hours of April 13th, 2011, in a small Tennessee town named Darden, Holly Bobo, which was a 20-year-old nursing student with a very promising future, vanished into the woods with an unknown male. There was one eyewitness in the case. The man was about 5'10", 6 feet tall, big build, dark longish hair with a ball cap on. His hair was sticking out of the sides of his head. Now, the thing is, Holly was not dragged into the woods. She looked like that she was going willingly into the woods. And hold on. Kid problem. She looked like she was going willingly into the woods. The only witness that was there was her brother. And her brother heard the dog barking, which alerted him. But like an hour before he heard the dog, the neighbor heard fighting in the garage. He didn't know what he was fighting about, but he heard fighting in the garage. He just assumed that it was Holly and a boyfriend. He didn't really think much of it, but it was right before 8 a.m. and she was caught by her brother walking in the woods, and it was by a man wearing camouflage. And what happened was, when she was walking, the brother just automatically assumed that it was her boyfriend. The mother said, no, 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 no. This is definitely not the boyfriend, because he was, whatchamacallit, he was deer hunting or turkey hunting. It probably was on a Dateline recently. I'm not 100% sure, but they've had Datelines a couple of times. I think there's like a 48 hours. It was a huge case, like huge. So stop. All right. Fluffer made me just totally lost. All right. So the mom knew that it wasn't her boyfriend. The neighbor called the mom to tell her what he heard, and the mother in turn called Bobo's mother, Karen, at work. Clint was awakened by the dogs. He knew something was wrong, but he didn't really think much of it. He said he looked like they were kneeled down facing each other in the garage, which I highly doubt he was kneeled down. They were talking back and forth. Holly sounded pretty upset and heated. He was doing much of the talking, and she would answer him back and say things like, I couldn't make out hardly any of the words. The only words I can make out was Holly saying, no, why? Clint said that he believed the couple were breaking up. At some point, the mom called him and spoke to him and said, Clint, that's not the boyfriend. That's not Drew. Get a gun and shoot him. And Clint was like, Mom, why am I going to shoot a boyfriend? He had no idea. No idea what was going on. And Karen then called 911. She was calling from work. She reached the dispatcher in the wrong county. But it still only took about 30 minutes for them to get there. Now, Clint had said that the guy was larger than a boyfriend. He had darker hair. He was much stockier. But he loaded a pistol. They went in the woods trying to find him. Nothing. Could not find him. Cell phone pings showed Holly's cell phone moving away from a home, heading north. Cell phone continued, went down to Interstate 40, where her remains were eventually found. After her cell phone stopped moving for about 20 to 30 minutes, it began traveling south again using a different route. Her last cell phone ping came from her phone in the area where the phone and the SIM card were later found, which was like all over the city. Like they found different parts of her stuff all over the place. Now, Clint had said that the guy was, and this is important, said the guy was like 5'10", 200 pounds. I mean, that's a big guy. That's not a meth head. You know what I mean? Like, that's a big dude. And his hair was long enough to touch his collar. He said the man was wearing a hat, camouflage clothing from head to toe, and identified a pattern as either Mosi Ark breakup or leafy wear. They searched the area. They found nothing. They could not find her. What they did find, though, scattered throughout the entire town, her lunchbox, a receipt with her name on it, her card from school, basically everything that was in her purse. Now, mind you, all of this started at like 7 o'clock in the morning. What killer does this at 7 a.m. at someone's house? It's very strange. So TBI originally, was gung-ho that it was going to be a sex offender that was in the area. His name is Terry Britt. Matched completely. And for some reason, they were cleared. Some reason he was cleared. But then in 2017, they found a suspect, or 2014, they found a suspect, a mentally challenged 25-year-old meth head, one with a very low IQ. Buffer, stop! One with a very low IQ, and one that all of a sudden just came out and said, yes, me, my brother, and my cousins did it. Just named all of them. Oh my God. All right. I am going to get off in a minute if this dog doesn't stop, because I can't speak when he's barking so much. It is driving me fucking insane. Absolutely fucking insane. So we may have to pick this up tomorrow, because I lose my train of thought. Then I can't think. I can't handle it. So they focused in on the sex offender. Did not work. It was alibied. It was fine. They went through his house. They did wiretapping. They did everything. But then they get a hold of Dylan. His real name's John Dylan Adams. And somehow he's brought in on a weapons charge. They're involved in like oxy dealing and meth dealing. And somehow he says that him and his brothers did it. The mother doesn't believe it. I don't believe it. Nobody fits. Stop. Nobody fits what they look like. Zach, who's the main person, definitely doesn't look like who did it. All right, I'm going to get off. We will pick this up tomorrow. I can't deal with him. And I mean, I've been on over 2 hours, but here's what I will say. There are people involved in this case who have been threatened by TBI. One of them is a very well-respected PI. Stop! Jesus fucking Christ. All he's doing is barking a buka. That's it. It's not like he needs me or he's just barking a buka. But a very well-respected PI got threatened by TBI over this case. Why would TBI threaten a PI? Like someone that is well-respected. Someone that it was pretty wild to hear her talk. That she legit was threatened by the TBI and she doesn't know why. The person that found her bones was threatened by the TBI. So a lot of people started to change and think that a cop did this. Maybe it was a cop that this happened to. And once we dive deep, I'm going to get into who it was, who was threatened, how were they threatened. But I'm just not doing it all tonight. There's way too much to this case to do everything in one night. This is like every day we're going to do a little more. That's how much there is. But I found out today that this respected PI was actually threatened. There's no reason for her to be threatened. There's just not. All she was going to do was uncover the truth. And the TBI threatened her and told her, stay the fuck off this case. There's no reason for you to be on this case. So the TBI did not want this case opened. They don't want people snooping around. They did not want people looking around to prove that Zach Adams did not do this. He was framed. He deserves a new trial. This is Brendan Dassey all over again. And the cops needed somebody. They needed to bust somebody. It's been too long, too much pressure. And lo and behold, they found some meth heads to do it. Not one piece of evidence links them to the crime. No DNA, not looking at them, nothing. One of the cousins said that it was him that did it. It was Zach that did it in order to get immunity. And he got immunity for ratting on his cousin. Which begs the question, would you rat somebody out to walk? Would you make up an entire story if it would save your ass? Think about that. Would you lie? The whole town thinks justice has been served. It's all circumstantial. And it's bad circumstantial because Zach doesn't even fit who Clint saw by a long shot. Zach has never had long hair. Zach's hair has always been super short. He's very, very thin. I mean, he's a meth head. Very thin. There's no reason why he should. There's no reason for this. Like, he took the rap because another meth head who is his cousin just totally fucking dropped the ball and said, yeah, he did it. He told me he did it. We know that Holly walked into the woods. We know that Holly walked into the woods with somebody. That we know. Her body was found within 20 miles of where that was taken, of where she was taken from, or where she was seen entering the woods. Well, according to this friend, he saw her at his house, and then they took him in his truck. And he made up this whole story that even watching it, it's kind of obvious that it was made up. But hey, he was saving his own ass. He didn't want to go to jail. So what do you got to do? I mean, he got full immunity. He was named by the little cousin. Let me also add, Not one detail that they gave of this crime ever matched the actual evidence. None of it. The evidence did not match up to anything that the cops had. Stop! To anything the cops had. Nothing. So again, we have no DNA. We have no evidence. We have nothing hard. All we have is some meth head's word. And this guy is doing life. So then, without the possibility of parole, by the way, him and his brother. Then, after 8 years, 7 years, this cousin decides that he wants to recant his story. He lied. He lied for immunity. He said this. Why he came forward after all these years, don't know. But he came forward and said, I lied. The news stations and the media are saying that before he went in, before he walked into court and gave that whole story, he told the media, I'm innocent. We are all innocent. We did not do this. And then he goes into court with full immunity because he wanted out and just made up an entire story. And mind you, they were all looked into. They were all looked at in the beginning, and they all had alibis that checked out fine. But people said, oh, they're meth heads, they're drug addicts, blah, blah, blah. And Zach was convicted pretty quickly. They all allegedly confessed. I believe it's all false confessions. But my biggest thing is why this PI was, why this PI was threatened. It made no sense. If I can find it real quick, I will. Hold on. But these are all the reasons why I'm 100% convinced he's innocent. They're saying one of the other guys must have kidnapped her, the guy that died from the overdose. Oh, the one that committed suicide? And we'll get into, like, we're going to get into the trial, and I'm knee deep in this case. I've been doing it all day and yesterday and the day before. Where did I see it? Let me check my history. Maybe it was on YouTube. Right. All right, it's got to be one of these. Maybe this. Hold on. Hang on. No, it wasn't there. Wasn't on there. This is it. Bear with me. Oh, Holly's cousin is also a famous country singer, by the way. I forgot to add that. It must have been an article. Damn. No, this is bothering me. The fuck was her name? Because there's like I've watched so much stuff on her. Shut the fuck up. God. All right. The hell's her name? All right, here we go. That's where I saw it. Hold on. This is it. I think this is it. The name looks familiar.
Investigation had been stone cold when a desperate mother asked a group of volunteer private investigators to get involved. But that good deed would not go unpunished.
Tonight, those detectives tell a story of being threatened, bullied, and even demeaned by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Fox 17's Dennis Ferrier joining us now with a story the detectives have never told.
I have an interview with Sheila from a couple of years ago on this channel. It was a very good interview about the Lauren Agee case, if anyone's interested. Also, Gray Hughes did a lot of work with her. They reenacted and proved someone innocent who they thought was, or someone thought was guilty. Gray did reconstruction with her of a crime scene. So she's not like she's not like, you're working with Betty Bullhorn. Like, she's got credit and credibility. By the way, Shane Austin is the one that took his own life, but Shane Austin didn't fit. Out of all of them, he kind of fit the profile, but he didn't fit the profile because he had red hair and his hair was short. I disagree. I don't think they're guilty. Well, I don't think Zach is. I can't say for the rest. I mean, Shane did commit suicide, but there's no evidence. There's nothing. So I may reach out to Sheila, but I do find it interesting that because a year before they were arrested, Sheila decides that, hey, we think it's these four. Great. But the cops didn't believe it. TBI didn't believe it. And then all of a sudden, TBI arrests them and closes the book on everyone else. So there's just a lot to it. But I think the kids, I don't think Zach did it. It's very possible that that the other one did it, but I don't think Zach has anything to do with it. I just don't. I don't know why. And the fact that Jason Atray is now changing his story, that bullet hole, though, they knew about that after the body was found before they went on trial. So the whole world knew about the bullet hole. It's crazy. But it's a crazy case. But that's why we're going head deep. And I could be wrong. It could, after I unveil everything, it could be that they are guilty. But it's just such an interesting case. So that's that. A lot of things a week. But I'm going to get off. We will continue this tomorrow. Because like I said, I don't care about what's going on YouTube. It's fucking boring to death. So we have moved up and revisiting this case. And if it turns out they're guilty, then they're guilty. It's perfectly fine. But I don't know. Something in my gut tells me they're not. Or at least Zach isn't. And I don't understand how you can... I don't understand how you can convict people for the rest of their life on circumstantial evidence. It doesn't make any sense. I am such a big believer in hard ass proof, not some meth head says what's wrong and, oh, okay, I guess that's the way it is. No, bullshit. So yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to get something to eat. I can't believe it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I did not expect to be on this long. But then again, now I don't have to edit because I already gave you the background. Woohoo! Doesn't matter that I've been editing all day trying to find a good voice clone because I can't stand mine. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for the super chats, memberships, PayPals, Cash Apps, all the love. We'll get my channel back up again. Bad Wolf is bad luck. Every time Bad Wolf is around, my channel goes to shit. I've noticed that. I don't know why. I don't think it's his fault, but it's very weird. All right. So, before we go, all right. And like I said, I have one 4th of July candle left that's ready to go. But if someone orders any, I can make more, no problem. But yeah, I got one left. So, love you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. My days are so fucked up. I don't even know Saturday, Sunday. I thought today was Sunday. I thought yesterday was Saturday. They're all whacked. But all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night and peace out, bean sprouts.